All right. I think we have everyone in from the waiting room. So thank you so much for joining. My name is Jenna Campolita, and I'm the External Relations Coordinator here at Hofstra University. And if this is your first Network with Pride event, well, welcome. This is our new program where we bring employers to you so you can learn more about different job opportunities, different industries, and we partner with the Graduate Center for, Graduate Business Career Relations at Zarb. And today's program is a special partner program with Hofstra Athletics. And you'll learn more about that as we introduce our speakers today. So we are thankful for that partnership. And this will be recorded in case you have a friend or classmate who's missing out. Calendars. We do Network with Pride almost every Wednesday. So you could see we have the New York Mets coming on February 24th. And we also have Schnepp's Media coming. Continue to chat and introduce yourself in the chat. And if you have questions for the speakers as we begin our program, you can use the chat, and we'll also have time at the end for you to engage. Now is the time to kind of start thinking about transitioning from college to career. If you're a graduating senior, or even, just thinking about internships, this would be a great time to add to your to-do list to set up an appointment with a career counselor. If you haven't worked on your resume in a while, if you haven't prepared for interviews or virtual interviews, take some time to do that. And you can do that through Connect. Check out Handshake for all of our events. And if you have your phone handy right now, pull up Instagram, start following at Hofstra Career on Instagram. That's where we promote all of our events. And you could check out some of the other social media profiles that we have here for the graduate business careers and others. And speaking of events, we've got it all in our Get Hired Hofstra series. So consider coming to some of these events. Next week, we kick it all off with our Equity and Inclusion Fair. We have a networking event on Tuesday, and the fair is on Thursday. And that's basically the model that we follow for all of these Get Hired Hofstra events. We'll have a networking info session the Tuesday of the week of the event, where we have special employer partners who come and share some information about their opportunities and help you prepare for the fair. And then that Thursday from 2:30 to 5 is the virtual fair. So it does take some planning and prep. So you want to check out these different events or contact us if you have questions. But today is one of the best of both worlds for this event, because not only do we have a current MBA student at Zarb who's working at Cintas, but we also have a Hofstra alum, Nick, who's going to share a lot about his experience transitioning from college to career and securing his, opportunity with Cintas. So without further ado, I'm going to stop the share, and we're going to pin, I think it'll be great if we kick things off with Nick. So Nick, why don't we begin with you telling us a little bit about your time at Hofstra, how you kind of got involved or learned about Cintas, and how you got to the position where you are today.
Sure. Can you hear me okay? I just want to make sure there's a little bit of delay, but I did want to show my HR manager that I was a football player back in the day. For those of you who don't know, there was a football team there at Hofstra till 2010. And then obviously the president at the time did away with it. But I am happy to be here. Thanks, Jenna, for allowing me this opportunity. I graduated Hofstra May of 09. So I started in fall of 05. I'm originally from Northern Virginia. Got a football scholarship to come up and play cornerback at Hofstra University, and spent 4 wonderful years there. Enjoyed my time thoroughly. Actually spent a lot of time at the Career Center at Hofstra. There was a lady named Danielle who used to be there, and she kind of introduced me to some different avenues to work within the Career Center, of updating my resume. There were some different workshops that I was involved in, and I actually found Cintas through a student athlete networking night that she actually pushed me to. And I did attend the Zarb School of Business and graduated with a bachelor's in management. And then I started interning the spring of, what would that be? Spring of '09, when I was done with football. Obviously, it was hard for me during my playing days to get internships and jobs, as I was always, within training camp or spring ball or what have you. So my senior year, I ended up getting an internship at Cintas. My last 3 months, I also interned at ESPN Radio in the city, my spring semester. So I stacked all my classes on Tuesday and Thursday, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I was going from out to Islip in Long Island, and then going into the city in the afternoon. So it was kind of a crazy spring semester. But long story short, I ended up finding Cintas, and the attraction for me was the people and the culture. By far, when I went through the interview process, I just felt at home here. I didn't even really know what Cintas did until I was deep into the interview process. But ultimately, it was the people who attracted me and the culture. And that's ultimately, if you ask me why I've been with Cintas since I graduated, why I've been here for the past 11 years, is because I felt like I was always treated fairly. They really live the motto of, hey, if you work hard and you come with a good attitude and put your best foot forward, you can advance your career. And so now I'm the sales manager out of Port Washington. So I cover a team of sales reps that sell in Nassau, Queens, and Brooklyn, New York. And I've been here at this location since December of 15. I did relocate a little bit. I started in Long Island facility. I went down to Richmond, Virginia, and then was in Jersey for a little bit. So I realized if you wanted to move up in the company, you got to be willing to kind of relocate and take on some assignments that maybe some other people don't want to. So I've enjoyed my time here. Hofstra has a special place in my heart. I visit it very often, keep in touch with a lot of people who still work there today, and I'm really happy to be here. So Jenna, I didn't know if there was anything else you want me to cover, but that was kind of brief background on me and my journey.
I just want to tell everyone, Nick and I have never met before. I did not plant that seed for him to say wonderful things about the Career Center, but thank you, Nick, for that. That was
no, that's a fact. That's a fact.
And
I was one of the only I was going to say, I was one of the only players that actually went to the Career Center. Most people couldn't even point it out. I'm like, it's right across our parking lot, right across the street.
I know. Well, for everyone tuning in today, we just moved to Weller Hall. So we have a nice brand new shiny facility for everyone to come and check out. So we're not as close to the stadium anymore. But, you bring up an excellent point about, not knowing too much about the company until you were interviewing and, learning more about the organizational culture. And that's what attracted you. So, that I think is a perfect segue for Danielle to share a little bit about Cintas and talk to students who, maybe never heard of the company until they got the email about this program today. So Danielle, can you fill everyone in a little bit about your path as well, and also what Cintas is all about?
Yeah, so I'll share my experience about how I got to Cintas also. And I'll let Dom cover the overall of Cintas. So we have Dominic Gregory, our general manager here for our location. So he'll give you guys the spiel about what we do. But I found Cintas also through my career center. I did go to a school in Pennsylvania. So Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. I went to King's College. And I found them through they were doing mock interviews at my career center. So that's how I found them. And then they liked how I performed. So what they did was they sent over my resume to the Central Islip location, and I ended up securing an internship with them over the summer. So that's an option too. If a lot of you guys aren't necessarily from Long Island, we do have locations all over the country. So I did my internship with Cintas in 2017, and in school, I was a psychology and human resource management major. So because of that, the HR manager took me under her wing a little bit, and I got to do a lot of career fairs. I did a lot of recruitment. So I was on all the job boards, Indeed. It was really my first business job, because before that, I was a swim instructor for Safety Swim, if anyone is from the Long Island area. So that's what I did. And I got to sit on a lot of like meetings too, like staff meetings, not just like generic meetings about nothing. Like it was planning and strategic meetings, and which I thought was really awesome because as a sophomore in college who had never been really exposed to the business world, and gave me insight to that. And it showed how much Cintas really, like, when we hire you, we trust you and we want your input on things, no matter like what your position is. So I really liked that. And I did kind of a miniature, I'll talk about the MT program towards the end, but I did a miniature version of the MT program since I only did a summer. So I got to spend some time going on route with our service team. I spent some time in production. I spent some time in office learning different roles with customer service and accounts receivables. So I didn't just do what was related to my major. I also did some days with sales where I got to go out and do cold calling, which was really awesome. And then after the completion of my internship, I didn't go back. So I did do other internships to kind of see what other avenues were out there. It wasn't until May of 2019 when I graduated, I saw a position open at Cintas for an HR trainee. And the reason why I decided to come back to Cintas is because of my experience with my internship, that they trusted me right off the bat. We had a lot of the same kind of mindset. So as Nick said, like if you show you want to do well, like a lot of us are very competitive at heart. I was an athlete too. I was a swimmer in college. So I just have that innate nature to want to do well. And I felt like I fit in really well with the culture here. So that's what brought me back. So I came in 2019, the end of August, after I graduated, as an HR trainee. And what I did was mostly recruitment and safety initiatives. So those were kind of my two top priorities. And then in March of 2020, right before COVID kind of shut everything down, our manager HR manager at the time moved into a sales role. So I was promoted to HR representative at the time. And from then I took on all HR function. So if anyone has taken like an HR class, I'm essentially an HR generalist because I do all HR functions rather than specialize in one thing. So my week can consist of recruiting, or I could be handling benefits or payroll issues also. So I do a lot of different things, which is really awesome because it keeps me on my feet. There's something new to do every day. And then recently in January, I was promoted to HR manager. So that's kind of a walk through how I got to Cintas and my experience throughout. But is there any other questions? I don't know if I covered everything that you had asked, Jenna.
So Jenna's having some technical issues. Hi, I'm Darlene Johnson from Career Design. So I'm just going to take over briefly until Jenna can get back up and running. So we are partnering with Hofstra Athletics for this event. And I'd like you both to speak of, and you touched upon this a little bit, what athletes have that make them sought after as a candidate for really any role. So either one of you, if you want to jump in with this.
Yeah. So
Yeah, sure, Danielle.
okay, you can hop in.
I'll touch on it just real quick, and then I'll pass the baton over to Danielle. But I'll tell you, for me, I do a lot of recruiting for former athletes, and we also have many people on the team that are didn't play sports in college, which is fine also. But for me, I look at managing your time with your athletics, which I think everyone knows. Division I athletes have a lot that they have to manage, from their practice schedule, traveling for games, trying to learn and study while on the road. And there's a lot that's asked of them versus, maybe someone who's not as involved in many things at the collegiate level. I love the competing mindset, working with teammates, dealing with adversities, dealing with coaches that are going to challenge you big time when it comes to high pressure situations that the games have to offer. So those are a few of the things that I look for, and that I typically find in a former Division I athlete. So on the sales side, it definitely comes in handy. And we have many examples of those who've come on board and excelled in that way. So Danielle, over to you.
Yeah, so you gave a pretty good answer, but I'll kind of tell on like a personal level. So I was a swimmer for 15 years, and like Nick said, it's a lot of commitment. And the reason why I stayed with the sport for so long is just the ability of really pushing yourself and testing yourself. Like I swam for a bunch of different club teams all at once. Sometimes I would also swim for high school. I did a 3-hour practice then, and then would go to my club team afterwards and do another 3-hour practice. So for me, I just liked the ability to really show what I could do and outshine myself. And I think that translates well too with the kind of work that is needed to do well in a job also. So it's kind of like a test to see what you can really do and how committed you can be to a job to make sure you're always being 1% better every day.
I think we have Jenna back.
I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. Tech issues, always sometimes an issue. So, this has been really helpful to kind of get an overview. And I know that I think the issue I was having was trying to share the flyer with the information. So I think what we'll do is maybe email that to students at the end, unless you might be able to drop the file in the chat. So I didn't know if you had a chance yet to talk a little bit about that opportunity.
Yeah. Dom, do you want to first talk about Cintas, and then I'm going to try to drop it into the flyer into the chat now.
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. So good afternoon. My name is Dominic Gregory, Market General Manager for Cintas. Unlike Danielle and Nick, I did not attend Hofstra. I am a graduate of the University of South Carolina. But I have been with the organization so just a brief background on myself. I've been with the company for 15 years, and I was a management trainee. So the position that Danielle is going to talk about, I had the opportunity 15 years ago to join that program. And since then, similar to Nick's history, I've lived in Augusta, Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, Charlotte, North Carolina, Montgomery, Alabama, Northern New Jersey, and now Long Island, and my almost 15 years with the organization and 8 promotions. And so it's the program within itself is great because it gives you a foundation of what we do. And so I'll be really brief and kind of walk you guys through Cintas. So Cintas was started back actually in the early 1930s with a husband and wife named Doc and Amelia Farmer. And we started off as a shop rag company, essentially. So if you can think about back then, Doc and Amelia were circus acts, found themselves unemployed based on the Great Depression. And a lot of manufacturing facilities were around the greater Cincinnati, Ohio area, where there were a ton of free-flowing liquids. And so when they were cleaning up those free-flowing liquids, companies, they would throw those rags away. And Doc and Amelia said, hey, we can come pick them up and launder them for you and bring it back, and we can do it cheaper than what it costs you to buy a new one. And that essentially started Cintas. We were called Acme Industrial Services back then. And so we evolved throughout the next several decades where we went public in the 80s and got into the garment business. And so today we're defined as a business services company. We do roughly $7 billion a year in annual revenue. We have 4 distinct operating segments. One called the rental division, which is what Nick, Danielle, and myself, we all work in. And that is the rental of garments, of uniforms, floor mats, and other ancillary products such as hand sanitizer, paper, soap, etc. Aprons. We have our first aid and safety division, where we're the largest van-delivered first aid company in North America. So if you think about any building you walk into, right, there's going to be a first aid box somewhere on the wall where you can get bandages and gauze, etc. That's Cintas. We come in and we restock that. We also teach folks how to use an AED, CPR, how to drive a forklift, and other training and compliance areas. We also have a fire division where we don't do any installation, but we do inspection of whether it be fire extinguishers, exit signage, sprinkler systems, etc. And then our 4th operating segment is called the Design Collective, And that's where we partner with other large Fortune 500 organizations, some such as American Airlines or Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. And there we have full-time designers on staff. We meet with the executive team of those organizations, and we design apparel programs based on their brand awareness. And then we design it, manufacture it, and we sell it directly to those clients. So those are our 4 distinct operating segments. And here out of Port Washington, where Danielle, Nick, and I all work, we specifically deal with the rental of the uniforms and the ancillary products that I mentioned earlier. So that's what makes up Cintas. Our division, the rental division, is the largest of the 4. We represent about 75% of the 7 billion in annual revenue, and we are proud to say that we are a Fortune 500 organization. And we love recruiting athletes. I too played football at the University of South Carolina way back in the day. So Danielle, I'll turn it back over to you to talk about the management trainee program in particular.
Awesome. So our management trainee program, the goal of the program is that for those who go through it, in the next 6 to 8 years, you're our next general manager. So prime example of Dominic, he was an MT and then is now in a general manager role. So how we prepare you for that role is we make sure you understand every department that we have here, because as a GM, you're going to have to make a lot of decisions that are going to affect multiple departments. So you'll have a portion of the program will be in our service department, it'll be in production, office, and then the last being sales. And then immediately after the program, you would go into a new business sales role. So the program is 21 months. And again, each rotation is a little bit different. You'll have different projects in each rotation, and then the roles that you're going to do. So you will learn, so for office, for example, you'll learn how to do accounts receivables, you'll learn how to do customer service, accounts payable, and like your overall project might be to do an audit to make sure we're compliant with all of our office systems. In service, you'll learn what it's like to go out on route and service our customers every day. So you will have the ability to drive our trucks. Now, obviously, we're not going to send you out right off the bat. There's a training process for that. But it is, again, that's why we look for people who are looking for like a challenge and a rewarding career, because that's one of the things that you get to do. In your production rotation, you'll learn all of the processes that goes on with getting our products out to our customers, loading and unloading of our trucks. And then for sales, you'll train to be a new business sales rep, since that, as I said, you'll go into that role directly after the program as well. Before I get into anything else, does anyone have any specific questions about maybe a day-to-day? Awesome. Well, so we're not, even though we're a business, you know, we're not really concerned with major. So it doesn't matter what major you are in. What we want to see is that you've excelled in school, you've had some internships, some leadership experience. When you come for the interview, I saw a couple in the chat. There's a couple expected for 2022. So just as an FYI, so we're hoping to start internships as well next fall. So stay in contact. Like it doesn't have to just end here. Right now, we are primarily hiring our management trainees from December 2020. So if you know anyone or graduating soon in this May, let us know. But that's kind of what we're looking for right now.
Well, Danielle, I think you bring up a great point. And I think the running theme that I've heard throughout is, you know, the attraction of the organizational culture that Nick mentioned, and, you know, the opportunity for internal promotion and support, you know, that training, that structured experience for new employees. So I don't know if you wanted to touch upon that, or if any of the students, you know, that are tuning in, it can be intimidating thinking about your first full-time job. And it sounds like this is an environment where they really take you step by step. So for anyone who's on the call, questions that you might have, things you want to talk about with a potential employer, feel free to unmute yourself if you want to chat.
Yeah, Nick, do you want to touch on your training process?
Yeah, I can certainly touch on that. Was there any questions at all from the group? Did I miss it?
No, just give a brief overview of kind of how, like, from day one, how you start the training process.
Yeah. So I'll tell you this much. I knew nothing about sales when I came off of the football field. I knew how to cover wide receivers, and that was about it. But what I did know was how to work hard, how to study product knowledge, how to communicate with teammates, right? How to, address a coach if I had an issue, how to bring a positive attitude to work every day, right? Those were kind of some of the foundational things that I brought, to Cintas. And then along the way, I had great trainers, great sales trainers who, showed me, ultimately how to build rapport and how to present and how to prospect, how to pick up a phone and make a cold call, which, for some of you on the line may be very foreign, as it was for me. But just like anything, you're probably much better in your athletic career as a senior than you were as a freshman. And you didn't know the playbook as a freshman as good as you did as a senior. So the same rule applies when you enter into the workforce. We all understand and know that coming out of school, you're not going to have the experience, right? But, hopefully, right, we can take someone with the right attitude and work ethic and, mold them into a superstar later on. But we do have a 13-week training program starting out on the sales side. Again, I'm like your personal trainer / position coach, so to speak, where, I dive into the classroom training. You do have a mentor as well as a captain on the team that really guides you along the way. But, it's by far from a sales standpoint, a top level organization from a training standpoint.
Hey, Nick, can I just add that one of the other benefits I think of Cintas is that we call it the Corporate Lattice, right? When you think about, you guys are student athletes, some of you, right? Or maybe you're not student athletes, but I know, at least for me, when I was in undergrad, you think about climbing the corporate ladder, right? And that's very vertical, very up and down. I love Cintas because we're so wide, right? We call it the Corporate Lattice because you can go from job to job in different divisions. And I mentioned our 4 operating segments. I didn't talk about our enterprise organization or our national accounts organization. And so it's like having a career and changing jobs, but never leaving the company. And I'll give an example. Prior to my assignment that I'm in today, I spent 2 years working with our healthcare division. And so all I did was support hospitals in New York City, Mount Sinai, Presbyterian, at the height of COVID, by the way. So in March and April of last year, I was literally in some of those hospitals, sitting in those senior leadership meetings with the hospital, trying to make sure that we were providing the products and services that would protect their employees at the height of COVID. And if you'd have told me 4 years ago, 5 years ago, that I would be sitting in some of those rooms in a healthcare environment working for a company like Cintas, I would tell you it's no way. I felt like I changed careers without ever leaving the organization. Spent 2.5 years in that role before the assignment that I'm in today. And so that's one of the beauties about the organization and about the MT program, because you learn about all these different divisions and departments within our organization. You also have access to our executive team. So 60% of our executives at Cintas are from the management trainee program. So we put a high value on the program as, again, over 50% of our senior leadership. Our CEO of the company, Scott Farmer, was a former management trainee, and our president and chief operating officer of the company, Todd Schneider, also a management trainee, right? So we put a lot of emphasis on it. And, in a post-COVID world, you'll go to Ohio and you'll get a chance to spend, 3 or 4 days with our senior leadership team. They'll fly out to the field and get an opportunity to meet you. So just to add what Nick said, you get a ton of exposure as well throughout that 21-month program.
So Danielle, I know we have the position posted on Handshake for students who are interested, and they can also go to careers.cintas.com. So when they get started in their application, what are some tips or advice that you have for students who are interested in applying to help them, potentially secure that interview and move forward with the process?
So I would say some general advice for the resume: make sure you proofread it. So grammar does matter. So make sure you're going over it before you submit anything. Also cater your resume to the company itself and the position that you're applying to. So don't keep it generic, like make it specific. Like if you go on our website, and we've just talked about pretty much what our culture is at Cintas, so include some of those keywords into your resume. I definitely highlight things that you've done in school, whether it is internships, volunteer experience, any awards that you've gotten, and then any other work experience that you have that maybe isn't necessarily like, I think my first resume, like it had what I did in school, my internships, and then I had brief work experience from before. So if like you were a server or like whatever kind of outside job you did, I would put that last though and really highlight your internship experience and leadership experience first. And then but yeah, keep it to one page. And again, just grammar, like please proofread it beforehand.
And they can come and see us before they submit it and have it checked by a professional like Nick had recommended too. So if they are selected for an interview, any, parting tips for students, either general interview tips or things that could help potentially secure an offer?
Yeah, so for interviewing tips, so you want to know, have a general elevator pitch for yourself. Like, hey, this is who I am. This is the experience that I've had. This is my major. Have your goals. So what type of career you're looking to get into. Even if maybe you're one of those people who just graduated and, I like business, but not really sure what I want to get into, have a picture of maybe what in the next 3 years you would like to get to. Like what's your end goal? So definitely know your elevator pitch. Do your research on the company. So I would definitely say also don't just know the generics about the company, because every recruiter is going to give you kind of like we just did. They'll give you a spiel of the company itself before the interview actually starts. And if you're just verbatim summarizing kind of what I said, it's not really showing you did enough research into us. So make sure you look in other channels on our website that's not just blatantly in front about our divisions or products. Like know about our stock price, who our CEO is, like drop those kind of facts. And then situational questions. So I don't know if you guys, so at my school we call them star stories. I don't know. Okay. So yeah, so know your star stories. A nice recruiter, so I'll usually kind of give hints. Hey, tell me about a time, give me a situation that you've had in the past that fits the example that I'm going to give you. And that's your key that, hey, I need something that a project I've worked on, a group project I've worked on, something that happened in my internship, and keep it, try not to like make it 5 minutes long, like keep it to the point, like this was the project, this is what I needed to accomplish, this is what I did in order to accomplish that goal, and just let me know the result. So I got an A+ on the project. Make sure you know your source stories, because I see that a lot. Some people don't really know how to answer them or don't know the key context clues for when we're asking a situational question. And that's pretty much it.
Well, I see Nick has his hand raised. I don't know if you wanted to add some insight there.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on, in a remote world, right? So it's almost coming up on a year now that we've been, doing meetings like this. Something simple, right? Have your camera on, right? I see some of the students on here have the camera on, dress professional. It's no different than when you're younger and you go to a baseball camp or a lacrosse camp, and you're trying to stand out in front of scouts, right? You want to step up and participate and be the first in line. It's little things that are going to separate you from the competition. And that's why I say, just in a remote world, be in an area that's got good connection, make sure to ask a question, participate, just little things that will go a long way in that process.
That's great advice, and hopefully motivating for all of the students who are tuning in today. So, this is the time where we want to pause and see if there are any burning questions that the students want to ask before we wrap things up. Feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat if you're more comfortable. And if not, any parting words, Nick, if you could go back and visit yourself as a senior at Hofstra, what would you tell yourself to, anticipate this path? Any, it's a very challenging time for students with the uncertainty of the world. So what parting words of wisdom might you have?
That's a good question, right? And like I mentioned before, and I wasn't queued up to talk about the Career Center, but go visit it. Go make sure your stuff is tight. I don't know if you all still do workshops. I'm sure you do, but take workshops. Make sure that, again, a lot of us as students don't really know the professional work environment yet. So those are things you have to learn. Even how to write a professional follow-up email to an interview, right? Which I'm sure you all cover. Network is huge, right? Network with as many students and or professors, right, that may be able to help you down the road. I look back and I'm 33 today, some of my best relationships that I have in my life now are from the student athletes that I played with at Hofstra. So that's not necessarily from a work side, but more of a life standpoint of, take the time and build these relationships now. They'll come in handy for you down the road. I just, went to Hofstra last year before the pandemic and did a little seminar with Linda Evans, a marketing professor over there who I've still connected with. So you never know where some of those connections that you have within Hofstra can lead you down the road. And so those are just some of the tidbits I would add on to that.
That's great advice. And I think the perfect note to end things on today. So I encourage you all, I shared your LinkedIns for both Nick and Danielle. If you want to connect beyond this program today, I encourage you all to apply, check out Cintas, look at that opportunity. And thank you so much, Danielle and Nick, and for Adam for the excellent song choice and for sharing the info today. So, and all you students, stay engaged and build connections, continue to meet with employers. So be well, everyone. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.